Imagine a child in a small English town watching racing cars flash across a television screen, engines screaming, champions fighting, history being written at 200 miles an hour. Now imagine that child hearing again and again that the dream is unrealistic, that it's not for people like him, that he should aim lower. And then imagine him deciding, quietly, stubbornly, that he'll do it anyway. This is the story of Lewis Hamilton, a driver shaped by sacrifice, sharpened by pressure, tested by prejudice, and defined by one relentless idea: prove it on the track. 1. A kid from Stevenage. Lewis Hamilton was born in Stevenage, Hertfordshire on January 7, 1985. His parents separated when he was very young, and his childhood was split between two worlds: weekdays with his mother, weekends with his father. Anthony, who carried a tough kind of love, the kind that didn't always come with hugs, but came with responsibility. Lewis has talked about being bullied as a small child, about feeling like an outsider early in life. And those experiences didn't just hurt, they carved something into him. A private promise that one day, the people who doubted him would toggle from judging him to watching him. On weekends, Anthony tried to figure out what to do with a boy full of energy. Like many dads, he reached for the simplest answer: shared attention. They watched the Grand Prix, and something clicked. Lewis wasn't just entertained, he was captivated. Not by the celebrity, not by the glamour, but by the craft. Breaking points, lines through corners, the strange mix of courage and control that racing demanded. His father bought him a remote control car. It was meant to keep him busy. It did something else. Lewis was so good, so unusually precise, that adults noticed. He could thread that little machine through tight turns, like it was attached to his nervous system. At local clubs, he was the youngest by far, sometimes needing boxes to stand on just to see the track, and yet he was beating grown men. That's when the question arrived. If he's this gifted with a remote control car, what happens if you put him in a cart? 2. Karting. Talent meets reality. Karting is where dreams either get a runway or hit a wall, because karting is brutally expensive. Not just the cart, but the tires, the travel, the maintenance, the entries, the constant cycle of pay again or go home. And Lewis didn't come from motorsport money. Anthony worked multiple jobs to keep it alive. Long days, early mornings, late nights in the garage. He wasn't building a hobby, he was building a path, a fragile one, always at risk of breaking if money ran out. But the bigger challenge wasn't only financial, it was social. Motor racing, especially in Britain at the time, was overwhelmingly white and often unwelcoming. Lewis and his family faced racism at tracks, hostility that ranged from cold stares to direct abuse. And the message behind it was always the same: you don't belong here. Anthony's response became a family rule. Don't argue, don't beg, don't trade insults, beat them. If someone wanted to measure Lewis by prejudice, Lewis would measure himself by lap time. And he started winning, enough that he became impossible to ignore. 3. The moment that changed everything. Ron Dennis. In 1995, Lewis, still a child, found himself at the Autosport Awards. He walked up to Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren, one of Formula One's most powerful teams. Lewis didn't hesitate. He introduced himself. He told Dennis he wanted to drive for him one day. Ron Dennis wrote something in Lewis's autograph book that would become legendary. A promise of sorts. Call me in 9 years. It sounds like a movie line, but it was real, and Lewis didn't forget. Years later, that encounter became more than a story. It became a bridge. By 1998, Lewis joined the McLaren Mercedes Young Driver program, an extraordinary move for a teenager, and the kind of opportunity that can transform an entire life if you're strong enough to survive it. Because the gift came with a shadow, pressure. When a major F1 team invests in you, you're not just chasing trophies anymore. You're being evaluated constantly. Every result becomes a referendum. Every mistake feels like a threat to your future. And for a young Lewis, that pressure wasn't abstract. It was personal. Second place didn't feel like almost. It felt like danger. 4. Climbing the ladder, fear, growth, and a breakthrough. Moving from carts to cars is a shock. The speed is different. The physics are different. The risks are different. And suddenly, raw talent isn't enough. Your mind has to expand. Lewis struggled at times. He crashed. He worried he'd be dropped. He carried the fear that one bad season could erase the dream. But then the pattern returned. Adapt. Learn. Dominate. In the junior categories, Formula Renault, Formula 3, he sharpened into something more complete. Not just fast, but disciplined. Not just bold, but strategic. A driver who could win in clean air and fight when everything went wrong. Then came GP2, the final proving ground before Formula 1. And in 2006, Lewis won the GP2 championship in his rookie season. Exactly the kind of statement that forces the highest level to take you seriously. Soon after, McLaren confirmed what Lewis had chased since childhood. He would race in Formula 1. 5. 2007. The rookie who refused to act like one. In Formula 1, rookies are supposed to learn quietly. They're expected to make small steps, respect hierarchy, and accept that greatness takes time. Lewis didn't read that script. He joined McLaren alongside Fernando Alonso, a two-time world champion at the peak of his powers. The team had a clear structure. The champion was the center of gravity. But Lewis arrived with something dangerous: immediate pace. From the opening races of 2007, he was on the podium. He looked calm under pressure, aggressive when opportunity appeared, and unafraid of reputation. By mid-season, it wasn't, "Is Lewis good?" It was, "How far can he go right now?" He won his first Grand Prix that season and began rewriting expectations of what a rookie could be. But the closer he got to the championship, the heavier the air became. Because being fast is one thing. Being fast while the entire world watches your every breath, that is something else. Late in the season, a critical race in China slipped away through strategy, tire wear, and a moment that ended in the gravel. The championship lead tightened. The final race became a cliff edge. In Brazil, he fought back through the field after early trouble, refusing to accept defeat. But it wasn't enough. He lost the title by a single point. 1 point. For most people, that would become a scar. For Lewis, it became fuel. Painful, yes, but clarifying. The dream didn't die. It sharpened. He promised himself he'd return stronger. 6. 2008. Mistakes, backlash, and the storm before the miracle. If 2007 felt like a rocket launch, 2008 was a trial by fire. The season included costly errors, penalties, collisions, and moments where it seemed like momentum was slipping away. Critics got louder. Doubt crept in. But champions aren't built only from highlight reels. They're built from recovery, how you respond when your confidence takes hits. Lewis responded the only way he knew how: by driving, by attacking, by refusing to shrink. At Silverstone, in wet conditions, he delivered a performance that reminded everyone what made him special: a rare connection to grip and balance, an instinctive understanding of the limit, and the courage to live there. It was the kind of drive that doesn't just win a race. It changes the emotional temperature of a season. And by the time the championship reached its final round, it was clear. This would be a duel. Lewis Hamilton versus Felipe Massa, McLaren versus Ferrari. The world watching again. 7. Brazil, 2008. The last lap that became legend. The 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix wasn't just a race. It was a pressure chamber. Lewis needed a finish high enough to secure the championship. Massa needed victory and help from the order behind. For most of the race, Lewis was positioned just where he needed to be. And then the weather turned. Rain arrived, and with it came chaos. Strategy flips, grip disappearing, drivers gambling on tire choices that would decide everything. Late in the race, Lewis lost a critical position and dropped outside the championship-winning spot. Massa crossed the line first, and for a few seconds it looked like the story was over. Ferrari celebrated. Brazil erupted. And then, on the final lap, one car ahead began to slow on the wrong tires in worsening conditions. Lewis found the opening at the last possible moment and took the place he needed. Fifth. That single position made him the world champion. Lewis Hamilton became the 2008 Formula One world champion by the smallest margin, at the latest possible second, in a finish so dramatic it still feels unreal to people who watched it live. And somewhere in all of that noise, there was something quieter. A son and a father realizing the sacrifice had meant something. 8. The legacy grows. Records, reinvention, and a wider impact. Lewis didn't stop at one title. Over the years, he became one of the most statistically successful drivers in Formula One history, accumulating 7 world championships, 105 Grand Prix wins, 104 pole positions, and 202 podiums, as listed in official F1 stats. But the numbers don't fully explain why he matters. Lewis Hamilton also became a cultural force, someone who brought new audiences into Formula One, challenged old ideas about what a driver should be, and spoke openly about identity, racism, and the need for broader inclusion in motorsport. He turned visibility into pressure on the sport to evolve, and he did it while still carrying the weight every driver carries, the demand to perform, every weekend, against the best in the world. 9. A new chapter. Ferrari. After more than a decade with Mercedes, Lewis made one of the most headline-making decisions of his career. He moved to Ferrari for the 2025 season, describing it as a choice driven by instinct, a gut feeling, and a desire for a new challenge. According to Formula One's official driver listing, he is set as a Ferrari driver for 2026. For a driver whose story began with people telling him, "You don't belong," there's something poetic about it. Lewis Hamilton, still reinventing himself, still walking into pressure, still choosing the hard road. Because the hard road is where he's always built his best chapters. 10. What his story really is. At its core, Lewis Hamilton's story is not just about speed. It's about endurance. A kid who got bullied and decided he'd become undeniable. A family that faced racism and chose excellence as the reply. A father who worked until exhaustion so his son could keep racing. A teenager who carried the fear of being dropped and kept winning anyway. A rookie who stared down a world champion as a teammate and didn't blink. A driver who lost a title by 1 point and came back to win one by a single position on the final lap in the rain. And that's why his story travels beyond motorsport. Because even if you don't know tire compounds, even if you've never watched a Grand Prix, you understand this. When the world tells you the dream isn't meant for you, you can still choose to chase it. And if you're willing to work, to endure, to learn, and to keep your head up when it hurts. One day, you might cross your own finish line. Not easily, not comfortably, but memorably, just like Lewis Hamilton.